All right, everybody, if we could take our seats. Good morning, Truckee, here on February 18th. Let's see. All the kids are out of school, so that takes a lot of people out of the room, or juggling with where you put them ahead of time. So thank you all for being here. And we have a good program this morning. We have 4 presenters to update you all on projects that are on the horizon in the town of Truckee. Carissa Binkley, the Economic Development Program Analyst for the town of Truckee, is here. Dave Mercer, the founder of Alpenglow Timbers. April Cole, the Executive Director of Friends of the Truckee Library. And Jen Parker, Philanthropy Officer at the KidZone Museum, will be our presenters. So thank you all for coming. We're going to shout out our sponsors. The presenting sponsors, Kelly Brother Painting and Tahoe Forest Healthcare System. The latte sponsors, Town of Truckee, PT Revolution, Schaefer's Mill, Ski and Lake Club, Moonshine Inc., Tahoe Truckee Media, Truckee Tahoe Unified School District, Sierra Sun, 101.5 Truckee Tahoe Radio, and Porter Simon Law Offices. Cappuccino sponsors are the Tahoe Truckee Community Foundation, Gold Ring Travel, Boreal Mountain Resort in Woodward, Tahoe, East River Public Relations and Marketing, JKAE, Tykert, Trout Creek Outfitters, Auerbach Engineering, and the Espresso sponsors, Mountain Hardware and Sports, Mount Lincoln Construction Inc., Tahoe Dave's, Peak Digital Studio, Dixon Realty, LP Insurance Services, Contractors Association of Truckee Tahoe, Martis Valley Mobile Mechanic, and Lyft Cowork and Conference Wellness Center. As always, thank you for Rory and the team at Truckee Tahoe Truckee Media for handling the AV, and the town of Truckee for allowing us to be here. Thank you to all of you, and now we will go around the room to give ourselves the introductions. Carissa, why don't we start with you?
Good morning, I'm Carissa Binkley, Town of Truckee Economic Development.
Good morning, Suzanne Montgomery, KidZone Museum Board Member.
David Mercer, Alpenglow Timber.
Jen Parker, KidZone Museum. Senia Dieter, I'm here with KidZone Museum, the chair of the board.
Luis?
Louise Zabriskie, Friends of the Truckee Library. Kathleen Egan, Friends of the Truckee Library.
Valerie Brinker, Dixon Realty.
Jessica?
Jessica Penman, I'm the president and CEO of the Truckee Chamber.
I'm April Cole, I'm with the Friends of the Truckee Library.
Joan Jones, Jones Quarter Construction and Friends of the Truckee Library, and River Revitalization students.
She can keep going.
Yeah. I could.
Yeah, I know you could. Jim Porter Simon formerly, and Tahoe Fund Board.
Kate Korsh, Friends of the Truckee Library.
Let's go back here.
Stacey Caldwell, Tahoe Truckee Community Foundation. Christy Darshankevich, nonprofit contractor.
Rob Darjankevich, Tahoe Forest Hospital District Board Member.
Katie Schaefer, East River PR Marketing. Jenny Kendrick, East River PR Marketing as well.
It's back against the wall.
Truckee Library, Rebel Carlson.
Thanks. Good.
James Bob Forwarda, just retiree.
There you go. Thank you.
Emily Hamilton, the Little Peacock Project.
Okay, now we'll go all the way back.
Alrighty, James Glavin, local resident.
Jessica Gross, Ski Butler Manager.
Megan Millar, KidZone Board Member.
All right, let's do this too.
Hey, I'm Ryan Faya, I'm with JKAE.
Amber Rue with JKAE.
I'm Alex Wahey with Village Camp Truckee, formerly known as Coachland RV Park.
Colette with JKAE.
Right here.
Maeve Donovan with Tahoe Truckee Community Foundation.
Ashley Beck, Tahoe Truckee Community Foundation.
John Lincoln with Tahoe Daves.
Erica Bates, Tahoe Truckee Community Foundation.
You.
Patrick Sheehan with JKE as well.
Carolyn Ford, community member.
Jeff Smith, Tech Futures Group.
Jackie Calvert with Visit Truckee Tahoe.
Amber Johnson with Silent Air Photography.
And Alex.
June Reed with Truckee Sanitary District.
Katie Benamati, Truckee Sanitary District.
Brett Miracle, Truckee Sanitary District.
Jan Zabriskie, Truckee Town Council, Nevada, Nevada County Transportation Commission, and River Revitalization Committee.
Thanks, Sean. I'm waking up too. All right, Raven Whittington. I'm the current lawyer at Porter Simon. not named after Jim Porter. A different, better looking Porter. And I am chair of the Chamber Board. So we will start now with Carissa Binkley, who is the Economic Development Program Analyst for the town of Truckee, and she is here to tell us about the River Revitalization Steering Committee.
Thank you, Raven. As Raven said, I am Carissa Binkley. I am staff at the town of Truckee, and we're going to talk about the River Revitalization Steering Committee. It is a mouthful, so we refer to it as R2SC. And I will start by explaining that I am town staff. I am merely shepherding this project along due to all of the amazing work of our volunteers. We'll get into who they are, but there's many of them in the room. Thank you all for being here. And I am lucky enough to be the town staff as we move through this project. So just a little bit of history. The river, as we all know, if you drive down East and West River Street, you can barely see the river. The town's first general plan recognized it as one of the town's primary assets. We have a beautiful river flowing through our town. The Downtown River Revitalization Strategy was another plan adopted in 2005, looking at revitalizing that corridor. The 2025 general plan also reaffirmed the priority of the river. And moving forward, recent and future projects that the town is working on right in that corridor. We've got the Legacy Trail, the pedestrian bridge, the new park, the West River streetscape improvements, reimagine Bridge Street. There's a lot going on that the town is investing right in that area. And at the same time, the 2040 general plan was recently adopted. The 2040 general plan is the framework of what the future of our community should be according to our citizens. Oh, I apologize. It looks like the text got a little messed up here, but essentially these are a list of goals and actions from our general plan that look at the river. So I'm not going to go through all of them, but it's things like transition of industrial to river-oriented uses. Things that are along our river don't necessarily need to be right on the river. We still want them in our town. We still want them to be successful. An example, transform into a live, work, recreate district with public access to river and variety of housing. Development standards for industrial buildings, public access to the Truckee River. As we know, there's very little public access to the Truckee River as it currently stands. It's banked by private land. And objective design standards protect the character and the feature of the river. So lots of goals from the 2040 general plan, which led to, after the Truckee 2040 general plan adoption, it led to the formation of a steering committee. The steering committee was formed by town council shortly after the 2040 general plan was adopted, as showing the community that we are taking the goals of the 2040 general plan, not just sitting them on the shelf, but actually putting them into action. And at the same time, the town doesn't have all the answers. The town doesn't know what we need, can't tell people what to do. So we took the community in and said, tell us what we should be doing, forming the steering committee. So these committee meetings, they're regular meetings every month, first Tuesday of each month, right in this room. They're Brown Act, so they're completely public. Tile Turkey Media, who's filming this today, also films those meetings. They're all available online to watch at past ones. And we're really excited that property owners along East and West River Street are regularly attending these as members of the public. So as I said, we have a long list of volunteers. So our committee, it includes everybody from property owners, downtown merchants, Chamber of Commerce, public agencies, the Contractors Association, and town council members, as well as residents. And all of these members have met every month working towards revitalization of East and West River Street. So, progress. Since July 2023 is when this committee was formed. Joan Jones in the room here, thank you, is our chair. Jan Zabriskie, also in our room, our mayor, is the vice chair of this committee. One of the things I'd like to point out, a huge step almost immediately after this committee was formed, the Truckee 2040 general plan speaks a lot about relocation of industrial. As soon as this committee was formed and started speaking through the details, there was an intentional shift from relocation to revitalization. Realizing we all know somebody who owns a property or conducts a business on East and West River Street that we love and we want to stay there or we want in our community. And so we switched to revitalization. For the interested property owners, meaning we are not here to tell anyone what to do with their private property or their business, but those interested, we'd like to help them revitalize. We established subcommittees, a consultant was hired. We looked through the existing documents. Like I started off with our history of prioritizing the river. We looked through those documents. Do those still stand? Are those representing our current values of what we'd like to happen with East and West River Street? We also realized we had missed some members. As large as our committee was, we didn't have any residents. And so we added a resident as well as a seat for Washoe Tribe. The Washoe Tribe we're currently holding just due to their capacity, but we do have a resident. Ralph Godon sits on the committee now as well. So we have, I'll speak in a little bit later, but we'll have River Health and Access as an action team, Community Economic Vitality action team, and a receiver site subcommittee, all with underneath the main committee of R2SC. So we looked at the existing documents, the Downtown River Revitalization Strategy, the Truckee 2040 General Plan, the Downtown Plan, and they all reiterate the same goals over and over, as you can see. And we realized these Truckee 2040 General Plan was the most recent document, but we wanted to go back out. Is this currently what we all want still? Are we moving in the right direction? So we started with community outreach. Coffee chats, taco talks, Truckee Day, Truckee Thursdays, online surveys, Rotary, the Contractor Association. We tried to go out and talk to everybody. What do we love about the river? What do we want to change? What works, what doesn't for our community? And here's some photos of that. Just again, tried to get out where everyone was, especially over the summer, over the spring, trying to meet people where they were and talk about goals and priorities of what works for the river. So we heard 5 things we love about the Truckee River. River as a connector to town and the Legacy Trail, spending time with family and friends on or along the river, revitalize areas with sidewalks, outdoor spaces, bike lanes. We all love these things. Things we'd like to see revitalized and improved: equipment storage, buildings in disrepair or unattractive, trailhead parking, industrial uses, and power lines. So putting that all together, we moved towards interconnected themes of restore, revive, and reimagine. And that set the groundwork of moving forward of where we're going with R2SC. So our consultant design workshop put together some what if concepts. A lot of people were like, well, we don't understand what would happen. What would it take? I don't, where are we going? And, a picture's worth 1,000 words. We asked permission of these property owners. These are just concepts. These are not plans. Just some screening and some riparian habit restoration completely transforms this parcel. Here's another one we're probably all familiar with. Some infill mixed use, adaptive reuse of existing buildings, and some bike lanes. Again, completely transforms, not a giant lift, not removing the existing buildings that currently have properties and businesses in them. But again, complete transformation. And just one more, just another what if concept. Again, keeping the existing building where it is, adding infill mixed use and some bike lanes and pedestrian connectivity completely transforms the character of this portion of the street. So moving forward, we formed 2 action teams. So there's River Health and Access and Community Economic Vitality. They consist of R2SC members as well as citizen volunteers, and they formed underneath R2SC just to have a little bit more focused work in a smaller group. We also have 2 subcommittees, one for communications and one for receiver sites. So I'm going to dive into River Health and Access Action Team. You can see the members listed on screen. These are all volunteer citizens who did amazing work. Each of them could have been hired as a consultant independently. They have a depth of knowledge, particularly on river health, as well as access. They received presentations during their meetings, which were open to the public, from Balance Hydrologics, the Town of Truckee Stormwater Program, the Whitewater Park. They dove into what exists now and what do we want for our future and what is coming on down the pike around East and West River Street, as well as the river itself. They formed a memo and a map showing 6 categories of enhancement opportunities of what we should be looking at as we move forward. We don't want to forget river health, as we can make the most amazing, beautiful buildings and river access, but we need to make sure river health as well as managed access are prioritized. So we looked at floodplain restoration, bike and pedestrian connectivity, vegetation enhancement. I'm not going to read through all of these, but this is just a piece from their memo, things like reconnect river hydrology with the floodplain. They did an entire deep dive into what the natural floodplain is and what the managed floodplain is. Approach should reflect the current flood regime with a goal of having a more natural floodplain. It's no longer natural what the river does. As we know, it comes out of Lake Tahoe, but there is things that can be done, including stabilizing banks using bioengineered approaches. They were deep into what is best for the river. Stormwater management. This is something I was not all that familiar with until we sat through these meetings. It was fascinating hearing from both the town, what is currently done, as well as what the goals could be done to improve the health of our river. Vegetation enhancement. There's noxious and invasive weeds that can be treated. There's overforested areas, and there's cottonwoods are natural and they can be promoted as regeneration. Wildlife habitat connectivity, enhancing the riparian aquatic habitat. So this group, and then river access. There was an entire in-depth conversation and details in this memo, and I'm going to get to the map in a moment, around what is a park, what is open space, what makes sense. Does it make sense to have less managed areas where people naturally head down, or should we control and manage the access? And so managed access was definitely something that would help the river and what they leaned towards in their recommendations. And so this beautiful map, this is broken up into 3 sections. I won't go into the entire thing, but this identifies sections along the river with the help of balanced hydrologics, went through what makes sense for our river, what existing situations are, the trout habitat, the floodplain, where the cottonwoods are, where the cottonwoods should be. And so this was an amazing lift from this group. This group is currently on hold until we bring an action plan back for them to submit comments to. But they did an amazing lift here with this group. Another subcommittee is the receiver site subcommittee. A lot of people ask me, what is a receiver site? What are we receiving? And the truth is, if we have businesses that we want to keep within our town that no longer necessarily need to exist right on East or West River Street, we'll need a place for them to go within town limits. And so this group is diving into what that looks like. Again, we have several of these members in the room, and they have been meeting every month, the third Wednesday of every month at 5 p.m. These are all public meetings. So they've been looking at existing property that is zoned manufacturing. This is an example of some undeveloped land up near Pioneer Center. TTSA also has some potential surplus land. Again, just looking at what could potentially be within our community. This is down Yorga Drive, just down the street here. And some more property zone manufacturing. Again, this is just a piece out of some of their meetings of what they're looking at. What exists, what makes sense, what would make sense for the properties, who's interested. There's a lot that this group is diving into. Another team, and I apologize, it looks like the text got messed up again, the Community Economic Vitality Action Team. This again is R2SC members and members of the public who have been volunteering and meeting the 4th Monday of every month at 5:15. And this group has done a lot of work, including hiring BAE Urban Economics to do a study of the existing East and West River Street businesses and what their motivations are. Are they interested in change? Are they not? Are they happy how things are? And so the takeaways were that many property owners no longer interested in change. They may have been at one point. Maybe they're farther on in their career and they're happy with how things are. A lot of them are super supportive. The property owners are supportive of the existing businesses and what it would mean to their families if they had to move. And so they're not interested. Yet some of the property owners are interested and very excited for revitalization of their property. And so instead of suggesting incentives or broad sweeping swaths of change for East and West River Street, the Community Economic Vitality Action Team suggested catalyst projects. And so if we work with those who are interested and help them along, what would that look like? Could we catalyze change along the river by showing what change could look like and how it may or may not work for our community? And so catalyst projects were approved by town council, and we went out to property owners all along East and West River Street. We went door to door, we held a mixer, we did what we could to try and get everybody's attention. We ended up with 9 applications. It was a super simple application on purpose. It literally was one page where it's like, basically, who are you? Are you interested in some change? And would you like to talk to us? And if so, you got an interview. And so our action team conducted interviews with all of the property owners and looked at the goals of R2SC, as you can see on the screen, and as well as a mix of projects. We didn't want to have, 3 housing projects or 3 redevelopment projects. We wanted to make sure that there was a mix of projects to show what could happen along East and West River Street. And the selected Callis project sites, you can see on the screen there, going from the west side, it starts with a project, a property that is represented by Jan Hollen. He represents a group of investors. It's the 2 buildings that are closest to the street. Some of you may know it's where Truckee Tire originally opened before they moved to their current location. There's 2 buildings there that they're looking at adaptive reuse. So keeping those existing buildings there, taking care of the tenants who are there, but potentially adding to that building and what that would look like. And that's a piece that this group was also cognizant of. That's a difficult one to do because it's currently zoned for residential. So it felt like if it's something that the town and our consultants didn't ended up helping with and providing some value to, that's something that's very challenging to do and may never happen for our community. Moving farther east, towards the middle of the map there, that star is the bar project. It's adjacent to the new, I'm going to attempt this, Dabayumawe Park on West River Street. And they are looking to have a flagship location for their distillery, a restaurant, something with bicycle and pedestrian-oriented facilities, something that is super exciting and closest to the finish line. They already have a lot of their plans. They're ready to do CEQA, and it's something that this group felt like that will completely transform the feeling. Right now, there is obviously some development, and from downtown, you might head over to the bakery or something over, the sushi place on West River Street, but that will completely transform and make a destination on West River Street. Farther on the east side, closer to the pedestrian bridge on East River Street, Mark Tanner has his offices as in his construction yard. This is a project where Mark very gracefully said he wants to stay in Truckee. We're appreciative of his business here, but he doesn't need to be on the river. He didn't intend to be on the river forever. His business doesn't need that location necessarily. So he's a open book. He wants the town's help figuring out the best and highest use. So we're really excited to help him with that project and see what that moves forward. So the Callis sites projects are getting, we're working right now with some agreements with them, and it'll look like what the partnership of both the town and our consultants. And I, last slide here, what our next steps are. So we are working towards a draft plan. So we formed another new subcommittee. Yes, we have a lot of subcommittees. Another new subcommittee that's synthesizing everything on the left there. All those bullet points are things that we have gone through since the formation of R2SC. What is our character? What is receiver sites? What does the river health in action look like? What are the barriers to success for revitalization for our property owners? And they're going to distill that into a draft plan to bring back to R2SC. Ultimately, we're hoping to both work through these Callis projects to learn from them and help the entire community better themselves and processes and see what will work for revitalization, as well as come up with a plan that may have actions and recommendations for town council to potentially approve. And that's all. And if you're interested in learning more, you're welcome to any of our meetings. townoftruckee.gov/river is a webpage that has more than you'd ever want to know about all this project. But if you have more questions, I am always happy to talk about this. I love this project, and I'm very thankful for all of our volunteers who work on this every month.
Thank you, Carissa. We're going to hold all the questions for the speakers till the end just to give everybody their allotted time. So next up we have Dave Mercer, the founder of Alpenglow Timbers. And Alpenglow is a locally owned and operated wood products and processing facility that's currently in the development phase. Welcome. You want to load?
It's up. Just click the arrow.
Ah, there you go. Morning, everybody. Some familiar faces and some people that gave us a great deal of help getting us this far. So yeah, I'm David Mercer. I was born in Taos City, grew up in Olympic Valley. I see my neighbor across the street. It's good to see some locals. Yeah, so I've been operating Crosscheck Services for about the last 20 years here. We're a timber forestry management company. Employ a bunch of local kids that grew up here, so it's good. This is what we do. We thin forests around our community. We don't do residential work. We do work for the Forest Service, larger land tracts, land trust, Nature Conservancy, North Star, people that own lots of acres. We go and thin their forests so to make them healthier. Some examples, this is state parks down in South Lake, kind of before and after. So that's what we do, stuff on the right. This is the type of equipment we generally use. It's low impact. We go in and cut smaller diameter trees, thin out the forest, promote larger diameter trees, which makes the forest healthier. Let's see if this plays. Nope. Maybe? No. Anyway, there was a video of what we do. This was just some more examples of forests. This is in Olympic Valley. This would have been about 6 months after we were there. So you can see you can't really tell we were there unless you can see the stumps. So a little history. As many of you probably know, this is what this town and this community was, forestry primarily. The rail yards here were part of what Truckee was to move timber out of here. The slide on the right is actually a firewood yard down in Floreston. That's all cordwood to feed Virginia City and the steam trains at the time. And on the left, that's just, typical wood that was taken out of the forest because they cut everything they could get to. It's just the way it was. And this is what we're trying to get it back to. Big trees, lots of space, lots of open ground. That's our goal. Some historic pictures of just north of here. So what it was and then what it was. So a little bit about our forest health and what we do in restoration. Our goal is to decrease the basal area, which is the scientific word of decreasing the square footage of the trees in the forest. Increasing the size of the tree, decreasing the numbers of trees, increasing the space. It really helps the forest with drought, with infestation of bugs, with fire, it is the solution. And our goal with everything we do is to bring fire back into the forest. Our forests really need fire. That's how they survive. If we don't have fire in our forests, they're gonna die. That's just the way it is. Fire's been in our forests for hundreds of thousands of years. And if you don't have fire in the forest, then you end up with a lot of stuff in your forest that isn't supposed to be there naturally. And you end up with extremely catastrophic fires, as is evident with what's been going on around the state for the last 10 years especially. So this is kind of what you can do. You can do nothing and Mother Nature will take care of it, as is evident by the multiple 100,000 acre fires that have been occurring. You can log forests and extract fiber, which is what the industrial forestry companies like to do. It's just what's most profitable. Generally leads to a forest that's quite susceptible to fire and disease because they generally replant in a monoculture and really tight spacing. Or you can thin them, which is prioritizing the long-term goal of forest health and allow fire into the thin forest. And start to get in front of the inevitable continued fire events and allow them not to become a catastrophic event and bring back a natural symbiotic relationship of fire. So this all led to Alpenglow. So we ran out of places to take all our logs, basically. When fires occur, especially large fires, there's Sierra Pacific Industries, which owns, I think, 1.9 million acres of forest land in California. And when fires occur, it generally occurs also on their land. And when it occurs on their land, they cut off all the outside logs. So any Forest Service logs, any state logs, any private logs can't go to their facilities anymore. So that leads us to not have the ability to treat forests anymore. So given that, we were left with either we stop doing what we do or figure out something to do with our wood. And so that was the solution. We needed something to do. So I modeled the mill off of numerous mills I had visited in Europe over the years and what used to occur in the West. It's more common on the East Coast, small mills that deal with local wood. So don't have to go through all that, but that's the gist of it. Some examples of some small mills in Austria and Slovenia. They're just generally kind of right in town, on the edge of town. Most of the timberland in Europe is private. It's either owned by the local municipality, the local town, or private landowners, small tracts, farmers, and they want to take care of their forests and they need something to do with their wood, and there's local sawmills that will take their wood and turn it into building products, and give it back to the town. So it's Europe. So part of the long-term goal of the sawmill is we need to make an end product, because you can't compete making 2x4s with mills that ingest 400 loads a day of saw logs. So what the plan is we're going to build cross-laminated timber and beams. It can utilize small, low-grade wood, which is it's what we take out of the forest, and it turns it into a building product that can be used in our area or within a short distance of our area. It's extremely strong, durable, builds very strong buildings out of low-grade wood. So it's basically taking dimensional wood and gluing it together in a cross-laminated pattern. And it builds, if you think of a piece of plywood that's 40 feet long and 10 inches thick and 10 feet wide. And you can cut it into pieces, cut it whatever you want out of it, and build whatever you'd like out of it. It's pretty amazing stuff. So yeah, here's some examples of what it looks like. So you lay up boards, glue them together, press them, cure them, and then put them into a machine that cuts all the pieces out. And some more examples. So yeah, the advantage of producing and using CLT products. Like I said, it's the best use that we could come up with for our wood, especially the low-grade, small diameter wood that we extract during our thinning work. And it's a great substitute for steel and concrete. It sequesters a whole bunch of carbon for a long period of time. It's extremely durable, and it's actually very fire resistant. Because the density of the wood is so high, it chars the outside if there is a fire, and then it stops because it runs out of fuel and air. It's not like a stick frame building where if there's a fire, the stick frame building is same humidity as the ambient humidity around it. So say if there's a catastrophic wildfire in our area where the humidity is 15% or less, well, the house is the same. So when the fire gets to it, it's going to burn that house too if it's a traditional stick frame building. I just like this slide. It really demonstrates the gist of it. So you end up with a charred layer and then unburned wood because it runs out of fuel and runs out of air. Unless it's really hot. And if it's really hot, there's nothing, steel burns too if it gets really hot. So about the project and where it is, we're actually not in the town of Truckee. We're north of Truckee out by Hobart Mills. I was fortunate enough to secure about 130 acres out there. On the Klondike Flat side of the highway. Back in when Hobart Mills was operating, the sawmill there ran from like 1880 until the 1940s. It was a dry town. There's actually a bunch of houses in Truckee that were transplanted from Hobart into town when the sawmill shut down. There's about 5,000 people, I think, lived out there at the time. But Klondike was the non-dry side of the creek, so you can imagine what went on there. Anyway, there's some residents to the north of us. Spent a couple days in this room getting through our use permit process about that. And this is what the site plan and facility plan looks like. We're going to build some housing for our employees because housing is such a problem. And a mill facility, log storage yard, as far away from the neighbors as we could get within the restrictions of the zoning and the drainage and the topography and all the other restrictions that go on with building. Also supply fire suppression as far as for our facility. We're going to give the neighbors a fire hydrant because they have really nothing out there, and a 200,000 gallon water tank. Pave the road up to our facility, which also the neighbors use to access their houses. So hopefully people will be somewhat happy with that. Rendering of what the facility will basically look like, and a rendering of housing. And currently we made it through our use permit process, made it through CEQA, and we're making it through building, air, water, all the other permitting that goes along with that. If anyone wants, they can look up our CEQA document, nevadacounty.gov. It's quite thick. It's like 800 pages. So, and that's about it. I'm happy to answer questions when we're all done.
Thanks.
Okay, up next we have April Cole, the Executive Director of Friends of the Truckee Library. April, thank you.
We just press the arrow. Fun. All right, good morning, everybody. Thank you so much for having me here, Chamber, board members. I've had the privilege of meeting most of you in this room, but for those of you I have not yet met, I wanted to take just a moment to introduce who I am and why I'm working on this project. I'll start with a little bit of background. I moved to Truckee about 18 years ago. I live here with my husband and my daughter, and my son is off at Sierra College now in Rockland. My daughter attends Alder Creek Middle School. Prior to working for the Friends of the Truckee Library, I was head of sales and director of operations for an international travel company. I specialized particularly in travel to Asia. I spent a lot of time with elephants, which is not a terrible thing to do. When I first moved to Truckee, I was working remote. I worked with people in Asia, I worked with people in London, I worked with people in New York. I didn't work with anybody in Truckee, so I felt really isolated. So one of the first things I did was get my library card. That's my son, who's now graduated in the Truckee Library. And I also volunteered at the KidZone, so finding places for my kids to be able to engage with other children before they were in school. Actually, at this time, it was just my son before I had my daughter. And I also joined the Rotary Club to be able to meet some adults, not just children, although I would argue that not everybody in the Rotary Club is an adult. Don't tell anybody I said that. And actually, through the Rotary Club is where I really got engaged with the new library project. And I'll back it up a little bit. As I said before, I worked and specialized with travel to Asia. And I guess you could probably imagine what happened in January 2020 when you specialize in travel to Asia. I didn't have a lot of things to do other than cancel a lot of trips. And I found time on my hands and really wanted to see what it was I could do to support my community at this time. And I joined a group who was working with the school district and other stakeholders to address a critical issue in our community, and that was lack of reliable internet access for our students because everybody was working at home digitally. And what I found in working with that group is that nearly 38% of the children at Truckee Elementary School are underserved. They have challenges with lack of access to reliable internet at home, and they are underhoused, meaning there are a lot of people inside their houses. So the need for kids to be able to keep up with their digital learning has to do with internet access and also space to be able to learn, where you can hear what's happening, you can pay attention, you can focus. So what solves that issue? A library. So now I'll get into my formal tab, which says why we need a library. We have 15,000 library card users. We have 38% of our children at Truckee Elementary who are underserved, and we have a library that fits 54 people. The study area for teens is one table with 4 chairs. We do not have the facility to support our critical need for students in our community for the things that happen outside of the school. And with that, I could think of no other reason to focus my energy than to work to get a library built. And that's when I joined the Friends of the Truckee Library. What I thought I would do today is focus a little bit less on that bigger picture, why we need a library. I think everybody here are business owners, people who have had projects done in Truckee. You know a little bit more about how these things happen. So I thought I'd dig into the details of what the Friends of the Truckee Library and our partners with the town of Truckee, Nevada County, Placer County have done this past year to get us closer to building a new library that is desperately needed for our community. I touched briefly on our partners. This is a collaborative effort. Recently, last year, we started the Truckee Library Joint Powers Authority, and that includes the town of Truckee, Nevada County, and Placer County, as this is a regional library that serves our entire community. We also have a few people here who are working to build the library. JKAE, I think I heard 17 people in the room. We are really excited that we were able to hire our architecture team. We have JKAE, who specializes in local mountain building, and we also have Group 4 Architecture. They specialize in building libraries. So that incredible combination of knowing how to build in Truckee, but also how to build a library that functions to serve the modern needs of libraries nowadays. We also need to raise some money to build a library. Jim Porter said that he was going to be donating a lot. That's what he did when he sat at the table. We all know that.
A lot of things.
We've said it publicly now, so we're good. But what Friends of the Truckee Library did is we invested in learning what the feasibility for raising funds in this community for a library would be. And I pulled out a few key things from this. We found that Friends of the Truckee Library is well respected. We found that there is untapped donor potential. There are people here that we haven't yet asked that are willing to give. That the case for the library is well supported. People know that we need to have a library. There is a clear path to raising $7 to $12 million with philanthropic dollars. There's broad support for libraries in general, like not just a library here, but people like libraries. And the key thing to being able to achieve all this is early transformational gifts, which is what Friends of the Truckee Library is working on right now. Similar, but not quite as extensive, I'm R2S2. Community outreach really inspires me. I think what we need to do more in this community is bring the community in for projects and not speak to people, but bring people in and talk with people. And a part of that with the library was in starting this advisory task force. We have over 21 organizations and demographics represented who can speak to how they will use the library, what their needs are, what their priorities are. Another key achievement was securing the new site. I left this slide in here. It's a little bit of an insider slide where not everybody will understand the significance of this, but with everybody here understanding development in this town, you know how hard it is to get a site. And we had a site. And we chose to move it, which was scary and right, because ultimately we need to build this library in a space that is best for the library, but also the community at large and the space at large, thinking future. And the space that we had some constraints with, you can see the red buildings are the Truckee Donner Recs and Park Districts, maintenance and operation yards. We had some tight space, just to kind of give a sense. At the bottom is Brockway Road. We're located near Truckee Regional Park. The space on the original site where the white is essentially sitting right on top of that farmer's market parking lot. And when you do that, our advisory task force was the first person to say, but that's a real parking lot. Like, we need that. There's not a lot of parking. We found just also that we would need to be building a new entrance into the site, and we would be eliminating some parking spots. So ultimately we said, is this the right thing to do? And we stepped back, looked at it a bit more holistically. JKAE was really a driver in engaging with looking at a new site. And we opted to just move the site about 300 feet to the west. And that saves us the farmer's market. So towards Cottonwood. There you go. That saves us that farmer's market parking. It does not require TDRPD to move the maintenance and operations yard. And it gives us 46 more parking spots. So we net more parking. So all in all, great deal. We did have to then get the land from Truckee Donner PUD, and I want to thank PUD for being an incredible partner and not only making that happen, but making it happen quickly. We were already under contract with architecture, so it was a little scary to delay it, but we got it through as fast as it could have possibly been done. at my time. Okay, perfect. I'd also like to thank our partners, Truckee Tahoe Airport, Southwest Gas, Martis Camp Foundation, Tahoe Mountain Resorts Foundation, Reno Tahoe Open Foundation, Tahoe Donor Giving Fund through TTCF. With our partners and individual giving, we've raised over $500,000 just in 2024 alone, prior to engaging in a capital campaign. I'll quickly go through, this is something that means a lot to me, is listening to the community. And we engaged through the summer with 2 big rounds of community input. I understand these are hard to see. I don't think we need to go too far into the details. The key is that we had nearly 4,000 people participate in our online and in-person surveys. And these are the things that they showed us. Number 1, people want books. I know that kind of surprises some people when I say it, but turns out people love libraries, they love books, and that's the reason why we're building a library. Also, arts and culture. Our community is really unique. This survey is done in many communities where libraries are built, and we are the only community that showed arts and culture in the top 3 for priorities. I think that speaks to how Truckee lives. We don't just live to survive, we live because it's a very rich community with arts, cultures, activity outside, and it's reflected in these surveys. We'll move through design pieces. And the reason why I show you guys these results is because we took all of that and put it into this. We designed our library based on what the community said they wanted, what the community said they needed, and how they would use it. And also with a specialist of architecture design who understand how libraries are built, how it will be needed to be used in the future. So with that, I'd love to share with you guys the designs, our initial schematic designs of the new Truckee Library. This is the entranceway. This is if you're viewing it from Brockway Road. Again, coming into the parking lot. We wanted really beautiful light in the building, and that's that high impact entryway. This is the view from the Legacy Trail. So the river's behind you, and you're looking up at the rivers, up from the Legacy Trail into this space over here is the community room, which looks to hold nearly 300 people capacity. And then over to the other side, again, a view from the Legacy Trail. The exterior as you come in, that integration with the park was key in this design. In the exterior, you have the children's area, playing and reading area on the outside. And then we have the interior. And you'll see we have a lot of space blocked out, lots of study room, places where people can go if they don't have space at home, or even just space that you want to go to, and have some quiet study space, some group study space. You head to the side, it's the kids area that opens up. In the back, we have a special area just for teens with more books. If you're looking over to that side, that's the front desk check-in, and then to the other side is where the community room is. And this is a shot of our children's room. Our children's room now is titchy tiny. This space is nearly 3 times the size of our current children's area, dedicated just for children's with lots of programming plus more books. And on that, thank you guys very much.
All right, next up we have Jen Parker, the Philanthropy Officer of the KidZone Museum, and to give us an update on their expansion project. So welcome, Jen.
Thank you. And Suzanne Montgomery is also going to be my little co-pilot up here. I'm so excited that we're going after the library because the synergy that's going to be there in that park is going to be awesome with the kids when the KidZone's there too. So, all right, which arrow? Oh, there we go. So yes, I am Jen Parker with KidZone Museum. I am the philanthropy officer. I've had many paid and non-paid positions at KidZone. We're very small, so everybody wears lots of hats. But we are super excited to talk to you about our Full Steam Ahead campaign to build a new, larger, permanent museum for KidZone. And this, there's so many like similarities. We're also working with JKAE. They created this great rendering for us, and Core Construction. So we have a design build team that is working on this project for us. So this is a rendering, and we are slated to go in the regional park behind the rodeo grounds. Now it's kind of called the Boneyard. There's a lot of stuff there, but we have just under 2 acres there. With our partner, the Parks and Rec, they have partnered with us for many, many years. They helped us get the place where we are now, too. So we're super excited to be moving to that space. This is another rendering. We will have a much expanded outdoor area as well. We're currently at about 3,500 square feet. I don't know do you all know where we are now over by the high school? Has anybody never been in the KidZone or know what it's about? Okay, I'll just quickly, we are a children's museum. Our focus is 0 to 7. Those first years in a child's life are incredibly important. Does anybody know the brain development, the percent that happens in those first 5 years? 80 to 85% of all those neural connections that we make happen in those first 5 years. So that is why we are so passionate about having this space for young families to come and engage with each other. We were talking to one of the founders not too long ago, and she said, yeah, we used to just go to the Lucky's grocery store and push our strollers through the aisles and talk because there was nowhere to go. So it's been in this community for 30 years, which is, I think, pretty incredible. So it's needed and it's really valued. Our larger building will be 10,500 square feet. So we will be able to serve a lot more families. This is just a little bit of statistics. 1993, we were in a little storefront over by Taco Salisco, totally volunteer run. Then we got a capital gift to move into the new space where we are. And the main reason for that is that the kids in this area were underperforming in their gross motor skills, mostly because of the long winters. So the Nevada and Placer County First Five gave us funding. We worked with the rec department, and we're able to move into the space that we're in now, which does have an indoor play structure. And that is a key component. We will always have that because it is absolutely essential for kids to get their bodies moving and get those gross motor skills. So we have visitation, 5,000. We now have about 30,000 visits every year. The prediction is 50,000 as we move. Access Pass, that's our scholarship program. No one is ever turned away from the KidZone due to lack of ability to pay. We will provide a scholarship for anybody that asks for it. And then children's visits. So we have about 30 social service partners. I won't list them all. But Sierra Community House, STEP, Truckee Healthy Babies, the library, being here for 30 years, you develop those relationships and you work hard to figure out where people need to be served in different areas. As I said, our core audience is about 0 to 6 or 7. All of what we do it's always child development and helping kids reach those developmental milestones. It's all based in that. So even though they're playing, there are just hundreds and hundreds of things happening in the brain. Kids develop in those first 5 years their social skills, their emotional skills, cognitive skills, literacy. Those are all developed through playing, through inquiry learning, where there is no right or wrong. It's just experimenting, and it's saying, oh, what happens if I do this? That really didn't work. What happens if I do this? So that is our whole philosophy and theory of teaching kids and helping them develop those skills. And of course, creativity. How we do that, this is an image of, we now have a Winnie the Pooh exhibit. This was our previous exhibit, which was Sierra Settlers. So we had our little train that had steam coming out. It made noise. So this imaginary play is super important to what we do, because that's really what helps kids develop all those skills. So, and we also bring in, there's a guy called, his company is called Tree Frog Treks, and we bring him in every year, and he has reptiles, and he talks to the kids, and so we also bring in outside things to help, to provide community events and help kids develop those skills and learn. And of course, if we expand our home, we can expand our reach. Like the library, one of our main tenets is to reach those people that are underserved. And like April said, there are almost 40% of families in this community that live at or below the poverty line. So we really we'll be able to reach many more of those kids if we have a larger space and, multi-generational experiences as well. So our ultimate goal is to have kids that have these experiences so that it can lay the foundation and they will be healthy and successful later on. And then I'm going to let Suzanne take over for a few minutes.
Take a breath. Hello. So I'm so happy to see all you JKAE folks here. That's so funny. And library folks here too. We are now going to be building our 10,500 square foot facility in 2 phases. So we're going to start, as you all probably know here in Truckee, how difficult and long the construction process can be. And we were a bunch of novices walking into it. And so now we are building in phases. It will help us get this project going sooner than later. One of the first shots on the slide was our current structure. Is a cloth tent, basically, and it's very sturdy, except when we have some of those very high snow load years, and then it's not so sturdy in places. So it's kind of at the end of its life. So we kind of had an urgency to get this facility built. So building in phases will allow us to get a facility that is already twice the size of what we have now into the ground sooner than later. It'll help us hopefully avoid cost escalations and get that building open quickly and manage fundraisings in a couple phases as well. So the construction cost for phase 1 is $9 million, which is a hefty sum. For phase 2, it'll be additional $3 million as it stands today. And here's a quick look at phase 1. The building, it's basically a rectangular steel building. So it's kind of an easy project to kind of wait on some of it and then add those parts to the building later. The first phase will be 6,500 square feet, which is twice the size of what we have now, and allow us to really expand and get things going quickly in the space. We're currently we serve children basically from 0 to 5 to 7. Our expanded space is going to allow us to go up through teens, and we're very excited about being able to do that in this space, starting with even phase 1, and it'll expand to even more so in phase 2. So this is a little schematic drawing of the interior space. We're going to have not so much exactly these trees, but very large indoor climbing structure, just like we have now, but even larger for older kids to experience play as well. A lot of traveling exhibits. Our Sierra Settlers story area will come, and you want to talk about the creative space?
And I also want to mention, like April was saying, the one good thing for us about COVID was that we were still serving people virtually, and we were sending directly to the families' homes, kits that we put together, but we were able to have these formal listening sessions. And so, like Friends of the Truckee Library, this is what people were asking for. This is what we're including, is what we heard. And from being open for 30 years and just hearing what parents are saying, what caregivers are saying is needed. Another room that we'll have in this new space is a kind of a sensory room. Sensory development is really important for kids, and all kids sort of make sense of the world differently from all those senses that are all the taking in from their senses. So this space will be quiet. Has a little extra insulation, kind of dark. It'll be for any kid that needs a little bit of a timeout, or a parent that needs a timeout. But it will focus really on sort of that sensory development and sensory integration that kids really need. It's very hard for some kids to just take all that information in and process it. So this will kind of help develop that skill. So that's something that we heard loud and clear that parents wanted. And of course, we will have a large STEAM room for all of our makers and tinkerers and entrepreneurs and future, inventors, which, will include, we also heard loud and clear that people wanted art. They didn't necessarily want just STEM, they wanted STEAM, which we agree with. So this is a place for exploring, for tinkering, for just, learning. So that'll be also in phase 1. And we will have about a 9,000 square foot outdoor area. So we're super excited about that as well. This place, kids can move their bodies. They can take risks. They can learn their boundaries, what's safe, what's not safe, which I think we're losing a little bit these days. So, the outdoor space is also super important for us. And it will include an outdoor classroom so that we can do some camps that we've done in the past, and we'll also be able to host some events here. It's going to be great. Okay, and then I'll let Suzanne talk a little more.
And phase 2, following hopefully very shortly after completion of phase 1. We will expand on our exhibits. We'll have a water play exhibit, water exploration exhibit. One of our most popular areas in the current museum is the build floor, where you collaboratively build things out of whatever we put out there on the floor for kids, because the integration and the meeting and talking and learning that aspect of working with others needs to start really young. And so we really encourage that. We'll have more traveling exhibits. We'll have a teen studio. And we have a goal of having a small, probably a takeaway cafe and a teaching kitchen. That was something that was brought to us too in our sessions with the community. Teens would really like that, particularly, but we will start with them very young and try to integrate science with cooking as well. So we have that goal in our second phase. Where we are right now, we have gotten through CEQA. We have gotten through the development permit, has been approved, and we're moving on to getting a building permit right now. Out of our goal of $9 million, we've raised just over $6 million so far. Which is, it's been a lot of work. And so we're very excited that we've gotten that far. And now we'll be hopefully breaking ground sometime this spring is the goal. So it's coming very quickly. So the economic impacts of the KidZone to this community, besides the much needed cultural facility that we are, we actually bring in income into our community here as well. Local businesses benefit from the visitation, particularly of out-of-town visitors who come to see us. And so right now, our economic study by Hansford Economics, currently we bring in about 395,000. Sorry, thank you. Dollars in captured spending, which will increase by 70% in our new facility that we hopefully can open in late 2026. Thank you. And I don't know if you want to close.
So yes, we have gotten the $6 million so far by those keystone gifts from people that we've talked to and believe in the project. We are working hard to get that next $3 million. We're like the library. I think everybody wants this to happen. I think it is a great asset. So it's just getting that funding and getting where we need to be. Yeah, so you can always contact anybody, myself, Carol, who's our executive director, if you know anyone that, would like to help with this project. We're excited, and we're excited, to hopefully be there with the library and, talk about revitalizing along the river. Like, it's awesome. So anyway, that's it. Thank you very much.
Well, we have some time for some questions for the speakers, except maybe Carissa, who I don't see here anymore. Yes, John.
Thank you. This is for Dave. One of the most intriguing parts of your project is the manufacturing this cross-laminated lumber and possibly having it available for local construction. I'm sure there's a lot of, maybe not impediments, but a lot of novel things you're going to have to deal with. How soon, is this still a potential reality, and how soon might we see the cross-laminate lumber being produced?
Oh yeah, it's a reality. I was in Slovenia 2 weeks ago at the factory where they build the machines to make the stuff.
So how far out is it?
It takes them 18 months to manufacture the machines. So the plan is if we can get going this summer with the rest of it, then we can figure out when we can move on with that part of it.
Okay, so you don't exactly know when you'll start manufacturing it?
Probably 2 years.
Okay, and is there any concern about your inventory if we see a stoppage of forest thinning on the national forest land?
Yes. Well, there is no, all the federal funding is frozen right now. So right now, the Forest Service can't hire any crews to mark trees or put out contracts or do any of the things that allow us to go into the federal forest. Our federal grants are frozen, and our federal loan guarantees are currently frozen. So once we get through all that, then,
What about the litigation?
With what?
Didn't a group sue the project?
No, they didn't sue the project. They appealed the project from the Planning Commission to the Board of Supervisors. That was it.
So it's yet to go before the board?
No, it's all done.
Yeah, and then they didn't sue. Oh,
No.
great. Fantastic.
They didn't,
Follow up.
they didn't really, they didn't have, well, I can speak for me. They didn't bring a lot to the table that merited a lawsuit that would have been successful for them.
That's great.
So what's the next steps?
Well, we're working through the county building process right now, permitting all of our various other state required permits. And then if we can get everything in line, then hopefully we'll move some dirt this summer and maybe have buildings up by this time next year.
Great. Other questions? Yes, Katie.
What's the projected time frame for the library and the KidZone?
We're aiming to break ground in 2027.
We're aiming to break ground in 2025.
Oh.
This spring, early summer.
Okay, I have a question for Carissa. Undergrounding the power lines, but we did all the West River streetscaping and there's still power lines up. What's the deal with that?
I don't directly represent that project, but I understand it's still in the process, and because they're more than just power lines on those poles, you have to work with every single company and agency, and so they will be coming down, is my understanding.
Okay, great.
Yeah, so ready?
I opened up a can of worms.
Everything's ready to go from the towns. It's like the conduit's there, but the utilities are the ones who have to pull their wires and run through the.
Got it.
Yep.
How
Alex,
frustrating that you had streetscape around the poles that will then be pulled and, yeah. All right.
So I'm with the Truckee Down and PUD,
Yeah.
so I can speak on that.
All right.
The electric utilities are undergrounded. We completed that in November, and we topped all the poles. The communication utilities remain. So that's in AT&T's hands now, I believe.
Got it. Okay.
For that section of the streetscape.
Well, thank you, PUD, for doing your part. Now, yeah. When we get online with Optimum and have to call them and spend hours. Yeah, right. Jim.
Maybe a touchy point, but how's Travis doing? Is Truckee Tires, is he coming around at all? Are you working with him, or was
So
there
he
room
sits
for him?
on R2SC. For those who don't know, Travis Privel owns Truckee Tire. He sits on R2SC. I actually invited him to sit on there because for years he has talked to me about his passion about this street and this corridor, and so I encourage anyone to engage in the public process. And so he sits on the committee. He is actually probably, I would say, one of the largest pieces of why we ended up with Catalyst projects. He has said over and over and over, you can't tell people what to do. You can't tell why are we planning on private land? And so the Catalyst project has allowed us to engage directly with the private landowners.
Okay.
Does that answer your question?
Yeah.
You can ask more after, Jim.
No, that's all right. I just,
Sounds like
There's no dirt here.
Yeah, right. It's complicated.
It is.
He's always very engaged.
He's always
very at the meetings. Yeah.
We have some good political discussions when we go in there.
Oh yeah. You just fire him up. I know.
Yeah, we do. It's fun.
All right, we're going to move on to our nonprofit stump speech. Hopefully you all can stay around for a little bit if people have questions afterwards. Appreciate that. So our nonprofit is the Little Peacock Project. So come on up.
Sorry.
Hello, everybody. My name is Emily Hamilton. I am the founder of the Little Peacock Project, a nonprofit located here in Truckee that supports families who have children with special and medical needs. I'm a little nervous, don't do a lot of public speaking, so I'll be reading from my phone just to make sure I don't forget anything. Okay, so let's see. So again, Little Peacock Project, we support families who have children with special and medical needs. I know firsthand the challenges that these families face because I am one of them. My son Dodge is 7 years old. He was born with severe brain malformations, which led to cerebral palsy, epilepsy, global developmental delays. He is nonverbal and will likely be in a wheelchair for his life, but he is the happiest, sweetest, and funnest little guy you'll ever meet. He loves being the center of attention, and one of his many nicknames is the Little Peacock. That is why we named this nonprofit the Little Peacock Project, because it's all for him and for children like him. Raising a child with special needs, we face a lot of challenges. It is very difficult, especially in a rural area like Truckee. Medical specialists are hours away. Most families have to travel to Sacramento, Davis, or the Bay Area just for medical appointments. Some even have to travel across the country to get specialized care for their children. On top of that, the financial burden is immense. Travel costs add up quickly, and many essential therapies and services aren't covered by insurance, leaving families to pay out of pocket. But beyond the financial strain, there is also the emotional toll. Raising a child with special needs can be incredibly isolating. With limited local resources and few community engagement opportunities, many families feel disconnected, struggling to find spaces where they truly belong, or people who understand the unique challenges they face. And that's where we come in. Our mission is simple: to support families in any way we can, financially, emotionally, and by creating safe, inclusive spaces where they feel like they truly belong. One of the ways we do this is through our Peacock's Pick program, where families can apply for financial assistance through our website. And here's the fun part. My son Dodge actually helps choose the recipients. His favorite game is taking blocks out of a bucket and dropping them on the floor. So we write the names of applicants on the blocks, put them in his bucket, and whichever one he picks is the family that receives the funding that month. So far, we've been able to help families with private swim lessons and movement lessons, which is incredibly beneficial for kids with special needs, but comes with a very high cost and is not covered by insurance. We're also building community through events and inclusive play. One of my biggest goals is to create more inclusive community events where families feel welcomed and supported. We recently hosted an inclusive movie night at the Community Arts Center in partnership with the Rec Center and KidZone Museum. We set up a special play area in the back of the theater with toys and activities for kids who needed to move around while others watched the movie up front. One of my favorite moments from that night was meeting a family with an 18-year-old son who had autism who had never been to a movie before. Watching his face light up at the big screen and seeing him move between playing and watching the film at his own pace was truly magical. That's what we want to create, moments where families feel safe, included, and celebrated. But we're not stopping there. We've been working with the Truckee Donner Regional Park District to make our local playgrounds more inclusive. We've already added an adaptive swing, giving kids with mobility issues the opportunity to experience the simple joy of swinging, just like any other child. Looking ahead, we're laying the groundwork for an adaptive playground, a space where children with all abilities can play, explore, and connect side by side. Play is an essential part of childhood, and every child deserves a place where they feel included and free to be just a kid. While this is a long-term vision that may take up to a decade to fully realize, we are committed to making steady progress and taking meaningful steps toward creating a more inclusive future for our community. We also plan on hosting sensory-friendly swim nights with private swim lessons for children with special needs. This will provide a safe, supportive environment where kids can enjoy the water without the overwhelming noise and crowds of typical swim lessons. So again, at the Little Peacock Project, our goal is simple: to help families raising children with special and medical needs feel supported, both financially and emotionally. We want them to know that they are not alone and that this community is here for them. Thank you for your time. Thanks.
Thank you, Emily. Is there a website or contact information if people want to support?
Yes, so the website is just thelittlepeacockproject.org.
Okay.
Yeah, we have all of our information on our website.
All right, thank you so much. Okay, we are now going to go around and do some stump speeches from anybody out there that may want to say something. Ooh, okay. I knew that somebody had.
Rob Dargent-Kavich from Tahoe Forest Hospital District Board member. When I ran for office in the fall, one of the platforms I had was community health. And one aspect is community engagement. That's why I'm here. For announcements and just importantly get feedback to hear from anyone during the campaign. It was important for me and it's important for me now. So I'm excited to announce that Anna Roth is starting as CEO of Tahoe Forest Hospital this March. She comes with 30 years plus of experience. While there are many qualities, some are she built amazing teams as well as amazing breadth of knowledge of California hospital and health systems. As some of you may have read in the Moonshine Inc. article, there's one that came out recently, and there are just two issues I want to briefly discuss. One is a Contra Costa Health employee issue that has been resolved in 2024, and the other one is an alleged Department of Justice investigation as well. Tahoe Forest Hospital, to date, Tahoe Forest Hospital, Contra Costa Health, and Roth have not found any evidence of this Department of investigation. I do want to acknowledge that last year, with the departure of our CEO, that it has left with some people in this community a distrust or loss of trust with Tahoe Forest Health, and that's why I'm here to listen and to really understand that. It's what I campaigned, and it's why I want to do this job. So, thank you. We are so excited for Anna Roth to start, and we're really excited for you to meet her. We think she'll be an awesome asset to our community. Thank you.
Thanks, Dr. Rob. Yes.
So again, I'm Martha Carlson from the Truckee Library, and I just want to bring your attention to some really great offerings that we have. As always, everything at the Truckee Library is free. We are being gifted once again by Lisa Carney, who is a very phenomenal photographer, professional in and of her own right, but she has the added ability to teach. We're doing a mobile photography series with starting with capturing images for social media, editing. We're going to do group pictures just in time before graduation and wedding season. Then we're doing landscapes. We'll also be doing a photography walk, hopefully around Donner Park during the summer. I'll have my calendar and these flyers. Also, I found out that our instructor for our Moment for Memoirs on our first Fridays was just named the Nevada County Poet Laureate. So Kat Terry of Tangled Roots Writing is our instructor for those writing workshops, and we invite you to participate. The flyers will be on the back table.
Great, thank you. Yes.
Hi, I'm Ashley Beck. I'm with Tahoe Truckee Community Foundation, and this is Erica Betas, I've never said it out loud, who's the New Forest Futures Program Director for TTCF. And we're launching the Forest Futures Salon Series again. Some of you may remember it from when we had our space on Donner Pass Road, and we're doing it in person, and the first one is February 27th.
So this is a Thursday after work, 5:30 to 7, and in this first salon we'll be focusing on this broad question of stewardship, so asking what does it mean to take care of our forests and our place, and to not only take care of our place, but to do so together. So we're going to have a panel of 5 really exciting speakers from Truckee Fire. We have Eric Hornvet, we have Anna Klopstad, council member and vice mayor of town of Truckee. We have Will Richardson from the Tahoe Institute for Natural Sciences, Lydell Wyatt from the Washoe Tribe, and Mayumi Peacock from Moonshine Inc. So we're really excited to feature a diverse array of perspectives on what it means to take care of our forests and our home at large, and would love to see you all there. So if you'd like to register, please come see us, and we'll be having salons throughout the rest of the spring, and would love to see you all there.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Yes.
Hi, my name's Bob Ferwerda, and I talked to this group recently. My concern is the town of Truckee needs to harden itself against wildfires like they had in LA. This is the story of paradise, of what they went through, the fire, and we have to take action so it doesn't happen in our town. So I would like to recommend that everybody acquire the book, and if you read this, you'll realize that we need to up our fire protection, our fire prevention efforts. And so I've got a handout of the cover of the book. It's $20, and it's a must read if you live in the woods like we do here in Truckee, because we want to continue our way of life. And if a fire ever hits this town, it's all over. Your life will never be the same. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes.
My name is Amber Dodson. I'm with Silent A Photography. If you need any photography for your business or architectural photography, if you need anything like that, I would be glad to do it. If you're getting married, or if you know anybody getting married, that is my specialty. That's what I love. So please contact me. Thank you.
Alrighty, without further ado, we'll go to the door prizes. So, first we've got, what do we have here, Ruth? Travel mugs from Forest Futures, TTCF. That will go to Alex of Village Camp. Alex of Village Camp. We'll do both. There, you can drink with a friend. Up next, we will do the Bike Warrior Kit Bear. Ruth, tell us what the Bike Warrior Kit is about. Do you know? We just have this fuzzy bear.
So it's our newest member, Carla, and she she's a cyclist herself and a racer, but she, especially in the dirt also, she does repair kits for either the rider or the cyclist. So this is just her little bear to promote her business.
All right, and that's going to go to Megan Miller of the KidZone board, which is somewhat fitting. All right, up next we have a return ticket to Good Morning Truckee. That is self-explanatory. That will go to Kathleen Egan. Give it back, you'll be here anyways. I know, okay, all right. Thank you for your generosity. Rotha Carlson. All right. Let's see, there we go. Back to Rotha. Then, last but not least, this is a resort gift certificate, which is a two-night free stay at the Village Camp of Truckee. So, Alex won something, he's given back something. There are some blackout dates. Oops. Let's see, that one jumped out. I'm going to take it. That goes to Carolyn Todd. Carolyn Todd.
Must be present to win.
Uh-oh. Okay, those are the rules.
Do you mean Ford?
TODD, but is there a Carolyn Ford here?
Yes.
Let's have Carolyn Ford win. There you go. All right. That is all that we have. The next Good Morning Truckee is on March 18th. Thanks again to all of our speakers, really moving Truckee forward in a really positive way. Let's give them a big round of applause and thank you for showing up.